What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Wednesday, October 20th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have an 11-game slate tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. So I like Damian Lillard here. He's got a great matchup against the Sacramento Kings. And Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 232.5 points scored in this game. But let's move on here. I want to save some salary at this position. So I like Fred VanVleet from the Toronto Raptors playing the Washington Wizards, who have the fourth worst defense overall, and they give up the second most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Fred VanVleet, he averaged 40 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 35.2 fantasy points here tonight. Now, I think he can score his season average 40 fantasy points or more. That would give him 5 times value or more, and he's $7,500 DraftKings salary, $1,300 more on FanDuel. So I like that DraftKings price, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 219.5 points scored in this game. So I like Fred VanVleet here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, another point guard that I like, if you want to save some salary, is DeJounte Murray from the San Antonio Spurs playing the Orlando Magic, who have the third worst defense overall, and they gave up the most fantasy points to opposing point guards. DeJounte Murray averaged 35.8 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 35.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $6,800 DraftKings salary, $900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 213.5 points scored in this game, and it's a fantastic matchup. And one of the reasons I like this pick is because DeJounte Murray, he scored 35, 37, and 35 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Magic. So I like DeJounte Murray here versus the Orlando Magic. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won, and we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like CJ McCollum from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Sacramento Kings, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They gave up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards, and CJ McCollum, he averaged 39.1 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 35.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $7,200 DraftKings salary, $800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game. And CJ McCollum, he scored 33, 43, and 38 fantasy points in his last 3 games of the season last year, playing 38, 50, and 34 minutes. So I like CJ McCollum here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, I also like Anthony Edwards from the Minnesota Timberwolves playing the Houston Rockets, who have the second worst defense overall, and they give up the third most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Anthony Edwards averaged 33 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 35 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value, but he scored 42, 43, and 51 fantasy points in his last 3 games of the season last year, playing 38, 33, and 39 minutes. He's 7,100 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game, so I like Anthony Edwards here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Norman Powell from the Portland Trailblazers playing the Sacramento Kings, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Norman Powell, he averaged 28.6 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 28.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 1,100 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 232.5 points scored in this game. That's their over-under. And Norman Powell scored 28, 19, and 41 fantasy points in his last 3 games of the season last year, playing 32, 50, and 34 minutes. So I like Norman Powell here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, if you're looking to save some salary at this position, take a look at Kyle Kuzma from the Washington Wizards playing the Toronto Raptors, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Kyle Kuzma averaged 26 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 26.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 5,100 DraftKings salary, 400 less on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 219.5 points scored in this game. So I like Kyle Kuzma here versus the Toronto Raptors.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on.
Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Domantas Sabonis from the Indiana Pacers playing the Charlotte Hornets, who had the 9th worst defense overall, and they gave up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Domantas Sabonis averaged 48.9 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 24% usage rate. He's projected at 46.1 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 9,800 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game, and Domantas Sabonis scored 53, 57, and 58 fantasy points in the last 3 games of the season last year, playing 32, 32, and 39 minutes. So I like Domantas Sabonis here versus the Charlotte Hornets. Now I also like Kelly Olynyk from the Detroit Pistons playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Kelly Olynyk, he averaged 30.3 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 29.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 4.9 times value. So Kelly Olynyk scored 34, 54, and 47 fantasy points in his last 3 games of the season last year, playing 23, 31, and 25 minutes. So he's a point per minute monster. He can get it done, and he's only 6,000 DraftKings salary, 200 less on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 218.5 points scored in this game. So I like Kelly Olynyk here versus the Chicago Bulls. Okay, moving on to the center position. So you got a couple of studs here. You got Joel Embiid, but the stud that I'm going to pay up for is Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns, who had a good defense overall, and they were middle of the pack defending opposing centers, but Nikola Jokic averaged 57 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He's projected at 47.7 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score over 50 fantasy points, get you 5 times value or more. He's 11,400 DraftKings salary, 1,000 more on FanDuel, and he scored 46, 77, and 52 fantasy points in his last 3 games of the season last year, playing 28, 39, and 29 minutes. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 223 points scored in this game, so I like Nikola Jokic here versus the Phoenix Suns. Now I also like Christian Wood from the Houston Rockets playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, and they gave up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Christian Wood, he averaged 40.3 fantasy points per game on the season last year, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He's projected at 36.8 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 40 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 8,000 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game. So I like Christian Wood here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay guys, so when we're playing NBA, these first 3 games are always the most difficult as we figure out how many minutes everyone's going to play, how their production is so far this season. So after we've played 3 games, these picks are going to get a little bit better. I'll have a little more confidence, but we're just going off of last year's stats and our gut feeling for these picks to start the season. But we're excited that NBA's back. This should be a fun slate here tonight. So have fun, everyone, and good luck.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.